I understand that people love dogs. I get it. And I was one of those people too, and I still do. I still love dogs, and I get excited when I see one. But just that they be courteous and respectful, and if they do have questions, you can address the handler. Don't talk to the dog, but address the handler.
Welcome to This Pause for You podcast, celebrating service, therapy, and working dogs, and how they save lives every day. Join us as we get to know the dogs and their handlers. Be sure you're subscribed. This Pause for You podcast is brought to you in part by Springer Education Entertainment, Anchor Productions, and Dogs on Duty, the Dog U Series. Find out more about that one at thedoguseries.com. Now your host, Refreshing Rahn Springer.
Thanks for joining us. Today we have a special guest, Renee Michaels, who has not one, but two service dogs. She's an actress as well. So she has a dog that helps her one day and another one another day, Finn and Harper, and they stand in for each other. So welcome, Renee.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So Renee has quite a list of accomplishments as she has been in the world of acting. And so she has been active since 2005 and has won some awards and also has some things in the works right now, like a sitcom. Why don't you tell us about that, Renee?
Well, I have a sitcom that I'm working on that's really, I'm going to be behind the scenes this time, behind the camera. I'm more of the creator of the show. And it's called Minding the Family. And it's a faith-based, family-safe series, kind of along the vein of like Parks and Rec or Gilmore Girls, that sort of feel. Just, it's a good family, fun, small town kind of story about a mom who is a psychologist and she's trying to raise the two teenage kids. And we have some quirky neighbors and all that kind of fun stuff.
So it's a slice of life, and it's actually, it could be your neighbors. It's the real deal. That's
Absolutely
awesome. That's the way I think that way it should be. We're going to have a peek at real life. And so you've also have won awards in the past years. You've got 25 credits. This is going to work in your bio as we talk here. So you have the Branson International Film Festival in 2022. You won a Best Series for Haven, and then you've got a spinoff from Haven as well, right? So you tell us about Haven and then what the spinoff is?
I say spin-off, but it's more of it's another series inspired by Haven. It's set in post-apocalyptic times after the biblical rapture, and it's following the remnant, a group of people from all over the world. You get different little snippets of their lives and what they're dealing with how they face the persecution and even promises of death. How they're dealing with those kind of things, that you see their growth and how their faith is strengthening them. So it's just been really fun. I mean, we get all different, like when we did the original series, we followed one group. Like it was 8 episodes, and we just followed them in their journey to a place called Haven, which would be the only place on earth that they were safe. And so that's where they were headed. And so then the Haven Chronicles, which is the series that's inspired by that, we kind of see like little vignettes of people from just different walks of life. They're not really connected at all, but we see that they are connected in their faith in Jesus and how they are dealing with what's happening to them.
So that's another way to bring about the revelation and prophecy and what it might look like. So that's makes it tangible for people. That's wonderful. Then also, you won an award for 2025 Bare Bones International Film Festival as Trailblazer Award. So tell us about that.
Well, so this one was really kind of special to me because the Trailblazer Award is an award that they offer filmmakers in Oklahoma pretty much. Well, actually not just Oklahoma, but people that have led the way for other filmmakers. So anyway, I was privileged to get one of those. And the thing that made it most special was because I had got my very first award at that festival when I got Best Actress in a Feature Film, however many years ago that was. So that was the first festival that I'd won an award. So then I get another award later. So that was kind of.
So I wanted to cover what you've done and what you're doing, because if someone asks you, well, what's special about you as an actress? You'd say, well, I'm an actress and this is all I've done. But what's special is you have two service dogs. So how do the service dogs work into a day for you? How does that look when you're going to go to set and you're there with a dog?
Well, it depends. Every set's different. So when you said I have two dogs, I don't necessarily, work them at the same time. Like you said earlier, they kind of take turns. But Harper is the one that has the most experience on set. She was my first dog, my original service dog. She's kind of semi-retired, but she works when she wants to work. And so she's been on set with me. She has been not just on set behind the camera, but they've even some, filmmakers have actually written her into it when they realized that I have a service dog. They just really love that idea. And so she's been able to
Awesome.
be a part of some of my work. Yeah. And so Finn, he's just learning what it's like to be on set. And so we're still kind of working out the kinks as far as that goes.
So how does Harper let you know that Harper wants to work? How does that work?
So I'll tell you how I know she didn't want to work and why we decided that she needed to be retired. So whenever I would get her gear out, she would run and hide. She didn't want to go. So now it's the opposite. If she sees me pull her gear out, then, and if she wants to work, she comes running and like slips right into it. So that's kind of how we judge whether or not she wants to go anywhere.
That's pretty clear. That's awesome. So does Finn play the other part of that, or does he always want to work?
He doesn't always want to work. He's a little stubborn. He's younger. He'd much rather, just play and play. So we're, like I said, we're working through things with him on set, but I'm also working through some things with him just in life in general. He goes to work with me. I'm also a substitute teacher. And so he has to go to work with me there. And that's a lot on a dog to have to sit there for, 7-8 hours under a desk. So when he's at home, he wants to stay home. He doesn't want to have to work because, he spends all day with me under a desk.
So that brings up the thought, well, so service dogs, they bond with their handler. There's training before you get them. There's training while you have them. And so how does that bond work? Is it different between the both dogs, or they both pretty much bond with you the same way when you're actually working?
So Finn is definitely more bonded to me than Harper. I always joke that Harper is my husband's dog, but she works for me. So when she gets her gear on, she absolutely works for me and she does what she's supposed to do. The second that gear goes off, she belongs to my husband. She rarely wants to have anything to do with him. But Finn, he's absolutely left all the time my dog, if that makes sense.
All right. Training, as I mentioned, is an ongoing thing. So how do you have a certain time every day or once a week that you just train or reinforce those behaviors?
Well, not really. Unfortunately, I'm a little lazy as far as that goes. But anytime I go out, we take that opportunity to make it a training experience for them. I mean, I always tell people they're always training because you never finish. They're always learning things. So no matter what it is that we're doing, I don't have to make a point of it. Anytime we're doing anything, that is part of their training.
So they just learn by doing. That's on the job training. That's actually
right.
sometimes
now,
better.
When they're when they're learning to be service dogs, that's different. Then you're setting time aside specifically for them to learn those skills, but they're both trained.
So when you show up to a set, and everything's set up, crew's going crazy and everybody's running around, do they all stop and a dog? What how does that happen when you get on set with the dogs? What does the crew and the cast do first?
I usually, when I get cast, I'm offered a role and I tell them that I have this dog, and then it's really up to them whether or not they want to continue with me or not. But when I am fortunate enough to be able to continue and get on set with my dog, by that time everybody knows. They kind of let everybody know, so there's not any surprises. But how people are when they see a dog. It doesn't really matter if they know it's a service dog or not. They get a little excited. So there is that moment of, oh my goodness, look at this dog. Oh, he's so cute, or she's just a gorgeous dog, depending which dog it is. But then that settles down and everybody's great. So I've not really had any issues as far as that goes. It's just the initial, oh, dog, okay, back to work.
That's good, the way it should be, because this is a difference. We know that there are dogs that are untrained, or some people call fake service dogs, and they're there because they're not trained. But a trained service dog, you don't know it's there. So that's the beauty about a properly trained dog. And so how is it that that's your professional life? What is it when you're at home or you're going to the grocery store? Have you had any challenges with the dogs? I assume you take one at a time, like you said, right? You don't always take them
right.
together.
I don't take. Oh my gosh, they're both big dogs. I can't even. I took them both out when I first got Finn, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't handle two big dogs. So yes, I just do one. In my normal everyday life, I deal with pretty much the same thing that a lot of service animal handlers deal with, where you go out and just trying to do your thing. Like you're just trying to go buy a loaf of bread from the grocery store, and it takes 30 minutes just to go all the ways across the store because people are stopping you constantly to talk about, their neighbors, cousins, sisters, dog that looked just like that one, or they have to tell dead dog stories, which is always fun.
Oh,
And then, just
boy.
they want to comment. And I think the issue is, people love dogs, so they see you with a dog, so they think automatically you're like bonded. They want to talk to you. So I mean, it's this challenge is dealing with the general public in that way.
You, as far as the service dog is part of the team, you bring that up as your cast or before you audition, or is it after you actually have been offered a role? How does that work?
I usually wait till I'm offered a role. Now, my
Mhm.
agent sometimes will tell them if I'll say, go ahead and submit me to for them to consider me for the audition. You might want to go ahead and tell them I have a service dog. So we do it job by job. It really does depend on what it is. If I have to travel any distance, it's non-negotiable. My dog has to come with me
Mm-hmm.
because I
Yes.
don't know when I'm going to have an episode, or to be without a dog for that long is going to make it really, really hard for me. If I'm more local and it's like a day trip back, just a few hours, I can manage. It's not ideal, but I can manage. So I
Mm-hmm.
try to, I just, when it's a distance, I say just tell them that I have a dog because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste their time. But if it's local, then I say don't say anything and I will just figure it out from there.
Understand. So another thought about being in public and stuff, you have people want to tell a dead dog story. Is that how does that go? What do you do?
It's usually people who are like, oh, either they had this dog or a relative had this dog and it looks just like my dog. And oh, it got run over, or it got cancer and it died, or it's always a dead dog. Like, oh, somebody stole the dog, or I don't want to get like super morbid at some of the things I've heard, but there's like
True.
it can get pretty graphic on some of the things, so how the dog died or whatever. I don't know why. I don't know why people feel like that's something I want to hear. I know a lot of service animal handlers deal with the exact same thing. There's a lot of jokes about that, about the dead dogs.
So I guess it's like going to a hairstylist, barber, or beautician. They hear everything. So, okay.
Yes.
So now, one thing people might ask you when you're in public is because, and this is not supposed to be done, but people are going to do it. They ask you about what the dog does, what's its task or its job. Are you comfortable talking to people about that, or you have to just simply say it's my dog and it provides a task for me? It's my service dog.
It really depends on how I feel for that day
Mm-hmm.
and how much negativity I've had to deal with the general public that day. Like if I've been out for a long time and people are just constantly bugging me, I don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm having a good day and I feel good, I don't feel like that I'm going to have an episode or anything, I'm more willing to talk about things, but I don't give away like my medical condition because that's not anybody's business. I will
Yes.
just tell them, my dog alerts to if I start to feel, I usually just say episode. If I'm having an episode,
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
tend to be, sometimes people tend to be a little bit nosier. And so
Mm-hmm.
they're, oh, what? Are you
No.
diabetic? Are you this? Are you that? And I'm just like, I don't talk about it, that kind of thing. It's really not that big a deal. I just feel like people are being nosy and they don't it's none of their business. I honestly, like most people,
Sure.
I'm happy to tell if we're just having a conversation and we're just sitting down, like
Sure.
having
Sure.
coffee and we're talking,
Yeah.
I'll talk about it. But, if
Sure.
you got some random stranger who wants to know, I'm just like, I don't,
Mm.
I don't really think that's any of your business. And of course, I don't say exactly like that, but, I try to be nice to them. But yeah, people, I don't think they mean any harm by it. I don't think they mean to be nosy. But when I see somebody like me who just look disabled, they want to know why I need a service dog. So, I mean, I kind of can't blame them,
Mm.
but
Yes, yes. See, that's the problem. That lots of disabilities they're not visible. You can't see them,
exactly,
but they're still a disability. And so and
exactly,
that's why there's only two questions according to the Americans with Disability Act and the ADA Act that a business can ask someone is
right,
it a service dog? And if the answer is yes, what task or duty or job does it perform? And that's it.
right,
But people don't understand that.
right,
They
and
want to
that's
get nosy. Mm.
right, and that's businesses, and I don't really have businesses get nosy. Usually, most businesses don't realize they can ask the two questions. They may ask one. They think they're only allowed to ask one, but they don't usually get nosy. It's the general public, and then when they ask, they think that because it says in ADA, these are the questions that can be asked. They think that applies to them. And as service animal handlers, we are not obligated to answer any questions from the general public.
No,
We can just,
no, no.
do our own thing. It's just for businesses.
True. So that what are some of the advice that you give to someone looking to get a service dog? What would you tell them?
Well, first, I would tell them that they need to think about what they need a service dog for. How is it going to help them mitigate their disability? If they can't think of a reason why a dog would help them, then maybe a service dog isn't for them.
Mhm.
But if they know the reason or what it is they want the dog to do for them, then they have to kind of go through the process of how are they going to get their dog? What are their options? Are they going to find a dog themselves? Are they going to have somebody else find it for them? Are they going to do a program dog? Like how much money are they willing to spend? Because that's going to also play a part in the dog. And then also the dog has to be temperament tested to make sure it's able to
Sure,
even work at
sure.
all.
Certainly, it's got to be a dog that's going to be able to do the job. So, Renee, tell us what's a great story about you on set with your service dog?
Ah, gosh. Okay, so one of my favorite stories that I tell people is it was the first time that Harper, first time and only time so far that she's had her like big break, sort of. Actually, that's not true. This will be the first time, but she had another opportunity. But I'll tell you about that in a second. The uh, the creator of this film, when he found out that I had a service dog, he wanted to make my character have a service dog. So he wrote her in it. So she was in the scenes with me, which is fine, like she's there kind of as a prop. But during one scene that the kid that played my son, he had a baseball and he's like tossing it in his hand and he drops it in front of her. And she picks it up and tosses it back to him. Like doesn't even. It's like as if she knew that was that she was supposed to do. Because she don't. We don't play fetch with her very often. So the fact that
Uh-huh.
she picks it up and like tossed it right back to him, that was so awesome. And when they called cut, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, did you see what she did?" And of course, that's the shot that made it in the film. It was probably my favorite. And then she also did. There's a TV series that filmed here with Ethan Hawke here in our state, and they had a call for guard dog type dogs, and so I submitted Harper, and she got in. So she is in a scene where Ethan Hawke is walking by her. It's not like he interacts with her or anything, but I thought that's pretty.
Yeah. So it's too funny that she actually was able to ad lib into us.
Yeah.
So a lot of people want to know how to get a service dog and what the steps are. What's the process? So was it the same with both dogs, or it could be different depending on what the need is?
So it does depend on the need. Obviously, somebody who is, say, visually impaired and needs a seeing eye dog or a guide dog, those dogs, of course, according to ADA, you are allowed to own or train your dogs, and that's acceptable. But there's some dogs that need very specialized training, right? So usually it's better for those type of dogs if you get them at a program, like you're a program through school that provides those dogs. But people with disabilities like mine, where it's a little easier to do it as an owner train, you can get your dog, from reputable breeders. Um, really any dog, any breed, any size can be a service dog, but not every
Uh-huh.
dog has the temperament. So that's why
Uh-huh.
I mentioned earlier that, whatever dog you end up with, whatever process you use, whether you happen to find a shelter dog, which is rare to find a good shelter dog that can do service work, but they should be temperament tested to
Mhm.
make sure that they even have the drive to work. And even then, dogs that are temperament tested, they can go through all of the training and still not make it and still not complete the whole, I guess, program or training. My dogs, so Harper is 100% owner trained. I say
Mhm.
100%, 98% owner trained. I did have a couple of trainers help me with her, but I did most of it. Finn came to me at 2 years old. He was already trained. So then I kind of just trained him for me.
Mhm.
So he
Sure.
knew everything, and then I just what my needs were, then I worked with that rather than starting from scratch.
What do you wish that people would know about service dogs? What are some of the things that you really want everybody to know, or they should know?
Well, I should know. There's a lot I should know, but I think mainly is that these dogs are working. So if you see a dog out, if it's a well-behaved dog, even if it's not labeled, even if it's not wearing a vest, even if it's nothing on it says it's a service dog, but if it is well-behaved and they're in a non-pet friendly business, assume it's a service dog and ignore it. The
Hmm.
dogs, they're
Hmm.
working. They're working dogs, and any kind of distraction could be very dangerous for their handlers. So the best thing to do is just pretend like the dog's not even there. If you are not going to acknowledge somebody's wheelchair, don't acknowledge their service dog.
That's right, because the service dog actually is considered equipment, medical equipment. So, so you've got one-on-one situations, and you've got general public, and so basically it's pretty much the same warnings that a dog is working. You don't bother anybody else when they're working. Have you encountered any scary situations?
I have not personally. I keep my head on a swivel when I'm out in public with my dogs. And for various reasons. So some of it is if I'm out at a grocery store that I know people are generally going to bring their pets when they shouldn't. The business itself is not doing their job to enforce the ADA. So I'm always watching. So if I see anybody with a dog, even if it's a service dog, I just try to keep my distance and stay
Mm,
away. So, but sometimes I know plenty of members who've had their dogs attacked by people bringing in their
mm,
pets to a
mm.
grocery store that they shouldn't, that kind of thing. So I'm grateful that I've not had anything like that, other than just the fact that people, are a little bit invasive when they see my dogs. That's the only real danger. It's not really danger.
I understand. So any other advice you have or thoughts about service dogs in general, or what you know like people to know?
I just think that, I understand that people love dogs. I get it. And I was one of those people too, and I still do. I still love dogs and I get excited when I see one, but just that they be courteous and respectful. And if they do have questions, you can address the handler. Don't talk to the
Mm,
dog, but address the handler. Most of the time, if you're kind, we will be kind back. And also not to be offended if we're like, don't really want to chat at that moment. So there's a good reason why. So just being
yeah.
respectful is really important.
Well, because the dog is working, that's for sure. Well, as we begin to wrap up here, what would you like to say in the next 5 years? Is there something that you'd like to see happen in the service dog world that you've been working on that you believe is something that would make a big difference?
I think it would make a big difference and it's work in some states are doing this, even our state of Oklahoma, where it's making it um, illegal, even though under federal law it's illegal, but every state having their own law to punish or have consequences for people who spay their pets or misrepresent their pets as service animals. So I would
Oh,
like to see
yes,
that
yes.
expanding and even maybe the fines being greater, so that people are discouraged. And also education. I want people to be educated. Businesses, they have to be educated. They can't just
Mhm.
think it doesn't matter. I'd like to see that.
That's true. That is something that people have to get a very clear understanding about what a service dog is and what it's doing, and that if you take your pet with you and call it a service dog when it's not, that's like taking somebody's handicap parking placard when you've got a stub toe. So Renee, if people wanted to find you and to learn more about what it's all like to have a service dog on set, or if they want to have you in their next production, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, of course, if they want me to, are interested in me working on one of their projects, they can find me through, Actors Access or any of the IMDb. But as far as just what I'm doing, if they want to keep up with what I'm doing, they can find me on Facebook under Renee Michaels,
Mhm.
or Actors with a Service Dog, which would be something you can look up on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Actors with a Service Dog.
All right, sounds good. Well, look forward to seeing you and the dogs in a movie or TV near you.
Thanks for listening and for subscribing to this Pause for You podcast. Visit our website, tpfypod.com. We are currently accepting submissions for additional sponsors so they can pay me with more than just dog biscuits. That could be you. This is Epic Voice Guy John Bailey saying, until next time, rough, bow wow, sniff, sniff.